it's Melissa here from Little Kosher Lunch. Purim is coming along, and since I did a video about a year ago for you about my hamantashen recipe that my family has always made, that is the end-all be-all hamantashen recipe, I felt like it was time to update that with a little addendum for you and to answer a lot of the questions that I frequently get about the recipe, questions from those of you who have tried it and aren't quite sure if you are doing everything right, or for those of you who are still a little bit nervous to try and just want a little bit more confidence before diving right in. First of all, this recipe is a family recipe that I received from my mother, who received it from Patty Golden, a family friend who taught a marvelous class called the Holiday Workshop Series, and she taught young couples and newlyweds how to go through the whole cycle of the Jewish year and all of the rituals, blessings, and foods that were customary. So we actually got this adopted into our family from her. This hamantashen recipe is the best recipe. I just want to tell those of you who are unfamiliar, because unlike a lot of those hard or crumbly or overly sweet or gigantic obese cookies that you find in the bakeries, these are usually, when I bake them, small, flaky, delicate, slightly tart dough with a sweet filling because it's a cream cheese based dough. And they are, to me, very different from your typical hamantashen that you will find. And they're just the best ones. One of the reasons that I started this YouTube channel was to share and to show you in real time how I do these recipes that give some people like a little bit of insecurity. Okay, moving right in, I get a lot of questions about this recipe, how I do it, and is it really as easy as I tell you? And the answer is yes, it really is that easy and that simple. First of all, is it only 6 ingredients? Yes, this recipe only requires 6 ingredients, only 4 ingredients if you're gonna make it nut-free and cinnamon-free. So all you need to do the simplest version is a jar of jam, butter, flour, and cream cheese. And that's all you need to do it. So that is my first answer to many questions I receive, which is, I make hamantashen with 20 ingredients. Well, I'm telling you, you don't need 20 ingredients to make a great hamantashen. This is the one. And I'm gonna link the original recipe down below for you so that you can give it a try. Something I'd go back in time and change about my video tutorial the last go around is that you don't need to do a parchment lined surface for rolling out your dough. We've had a really busy day. The girls have gone to bed. I took the opportunity just to take a clean countertop and make it messy again. I floured my surface very generously on my countertop. This is a granite countertop, which is great for baking. And I just rolled it straight out on the granite. The next question I often get is, do I have the right consistency of my dough? Because this dough is really fatty. And the answer is probably yes. If your dough is sticky, I take it out of the refrigerator after it's chilled, usually overnight. I take it out 15 to 30 minutes before I roll it, and I heavily flour my surface. Heavily flour. So yes, your dough probably is going to be sticky. It should rest a significant amount of time in the fridge, at least 1 hour, probably overnight. And then it can take a lot of flour. So don't be afraid. Throw that flour down because there's so much fat in this dough. Not touch it a lot with your hands. Mostly just use your rolling pin and a ton of flour to keep from sticking to your surface. My next question I often get is, I'm going to bake this with kids. Do you have any tips? And I wish I could say that I knew all the tips for baking with kids, because I still do find it really challenging. But what I will say is that you can do a couple of things to be more successful with children who have maybe a limited attention span or find it hard to wait. What I like to do is I like to have one batch of dough ready-made and pre-chilled, so that even if you're going to do the mixer or the food processor part with your kids to mix the dough, have one pre-chilled and ready so that when you make it and put it into chill, you can pull one right out like on a cooking show. My second tip is have your circles pre-cut out. You know, I can do these and do them during nap time or while my big girl is at school, and have all my circles pre-cut and just chilling in the fridge, and pull them out in the afternoon when she gets home from school. This also is instant gratification for a child who just wants to do that filling and pinching step. And then again, they're gonna have to go back in the fridge and chill one more time before you bake them. So that's one satisfying activity for a child that you can expedite this way. Next up, I get some questions about things like, is there a lot of waste with this recipe? And because there's a lot of fat, I can roll and re-roll and amply flour my dough while I work with it. And this is the amount of dough that I had left at the end. And honestly, I could roll this into one more circle for one more hamantashen. So don't be afraid to pull up your scraps after you've cut out your circles and roll it out again and again until there's no more dough left. You don't need to worry about wasting. It will get a little bit drier and maybe a little bit tougher as you work it. So try not to work it too much, but this is really little waste, and I'm not even gonna waste that. Originally, the recipe does call for you to make a disc, form a disc, wrap it and chill it in the fridge, and then divide it into 4 and roll it out in 4 different batches. I like to take my whole disc and just roll the whole thing out if you have a really big surface. So that's another tip that I did. I don't know how I did. I think I rolled out half of it in my original video that I filmed for you, but any way you want to roll it is fine as long as you get it really thin to the thinness that you like, and roll up your scraps and re-roll them. So that's another tip for you. How am I organizing these for a bake sale? So I've tickled you guys by telling you that I'm baking like thousands of hamantashen, and I am, because if anyone is going to raise money for a cause, it is me and these hamantashen. But that's complicated, right? So I've really been emptying my freezer. We ate all the ice cream out of the freezer. We're eating all the frozen foods. And I am putting dough away weeks in advance. I'm making the dough and freezing it. And you can totally do that if you wrap them well in saran wrap, put them in your freezer, and then you could do it the month before even, and then just pull your dough from the freezer into the fridge to thaw it right before Purim. So do that in advance if it helps you to sort of divide your time. The other thing that I'm doing is I'm really just blocking off time in my schedule where one afternoon into the evening, I'm just going to roll, cut, and form all my hamantashen. I'm going to put all of them back in the fridge, and then I'm going to bake them all on the day before the bake sale, let them cool, pack them, and deliver them. So I have really compartmentalized my schedule. But another tip that I probably should be following is to make the dough and then just give a ball of dough to everyone you know and have them roll and bake them for you. And that's another sort of like factory style process where you can get a lot of baking done without working yourself to the bone like I am this go around. But we may do that for the Purim Carnival, you never know. Can you make this gluten-free? Yes, you can make it gluten-free, and I have done so. This is the King Arthur flour, gluten-free flour. I love King Arthur flour. I use it much of the time, not always, but it's my preferred flour when I can get it. And this is the measure for measure flour. So your ratio is going to be exactly the same as in my recipe. You just substitute this in. The dough is going to feel slightly different to the touch from the regular flour. The consistency, I feel like it rolled out a little bit drier for me when I rolled it, but don't worry about it. Just go with it. It does roll out a little bit drier. It tastes slightly more powdery in the mouth, but it's good enough. Is it worth it? Yes, it is worth it. I'm a Jewish mother. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to make the hamantashen because my kids are going to remember this. My kids already do remember this. My kids love this. And I'm just going to read a couple of comments to you because I really strongly feel that, it is an egotistical act as much as a loving and selfless act when you are a mom cooking the holiday food or baking the holiday food. So there is a lot of identity and ego and wanting to please people when I'm doing a recipe like this. And let me tell you, the people are pleased. OMG, Melissa, I am dying of delight after eating 3 of your fantastically light and flaky hamantashen. Wow. That was one. The email goes on and on, that email. Dear Melissa, thank you so much. My breakfast, lunch, and probably dinner are these yummy, fluffy, most delicious hamantashen. I spread the love and shared some. I can't tell you how many asked for the recipe. Chag Sameach and sweet holiday hugs. So I'm telling you, I make these because they're delicious and they're the only hamantashen that I want to eat and my family wants to eat. I make them to raise money for my school and our nonprofit that we support. I make them for my kids to have a positive, wonderful, full of love food memory. I make them for other people so that they also have a positive food memory about Jewish holidays, because a lot of people just eat really crummy, terrible hamantashen, and that upsets me. So for so many reasons, I am baking this recipe. For so many reasons, I am sharing it with you. And because I want you to be successful this year, I'm sharing these additional tips with you. Please spread the word. Send this to a friend. Tell your friend who thinks it's too complicated that she or he only needs 4 things. And you can do this after the kids go to bed, or divvy up the work and make your dough one night and then bake them the next day. It's not so hard. Practice makes perfect. I hope you have a great Purim, and thank you for being here. And please stick around and hit the subscribe and notification bell if you want to see more Purim content and lunchbox content that I'll be putting out on my channel for you soon. Take care and have a great holiday. Bye-bye.